Okay, so hello and welcome to the Perimenopause Reset. So thank you for joining me today. There's a few of you who are watching from far away. I've got a lovely cricket or something here with us today who has now finally stopped. But yeah, so thank you for joining me. And if you were watching the replay, even better because now you can pause and start as you need to if you have to go grab a drink of water or attend to somebody else in your house. So what we're going to review today is 3 of the pillars of basically the crap we go through during perimenopause. So a lot of it's going to be unpredictable. Some of it is stuff you've probably heard before. What we're aiming to do is help you find a better way to build your own foundation to set yourself up for success and less severe symptoms of perimenopause. So a lot of confusion. There's been a lot of overuse of the word perimenopause and what we are going through in this phase. And a lot of fear mongering as well. So I'm here to help hopefully put your mind at ease and bring some clarity and just some confidence really for your own journey. So it doesn't have to be that scary. Some of you might even be earlier than perimenopause or you're not sure if you're in it. I think that's even better because you're getting ahead of it. And like I said, we're here to help you build a better foundation so that when it does hit, or if you are in the thick of it, you've already built the building blocks to improve it. So then you can move forward even faster if you're going to seek other avenues to help with your experience. So the first thing that we're going to dive into is one of the 3 pillars, which is our energy. So the biggest complaint I hear from women, especially myself, is our energy fluctuations. So not having the stamina that we used to have. Yes, that's a part of aging, and yes, it's amplified during perimenopause. So the energy that we used to have at the moment, you might be feeling like you just can't make it to dinner time without having a sugar crash, a big energy slump, even closing your eyes for 15 minutes before the kids get home, or when you get home from work, lying on the couch for half an hour before you can even get dinner started. So those afternoon slumps can be quite severe, where even if you've had a good night's sleep and you've been doing all the right things, you just cannot get through the afternoon. For me personally, when this happens, it leads to a very cranky and moody version of myself. Ask anyone that lives in a 100-meter radius of my house. You can probably attest to that. So it's not so much just energy slumps, but it's the roll-on effect of that as well. So when you just feel like you can't get ahead for the afternoon. The evening, bedtime, we've got a little one. Everyone's tired. We're all at low patience and low energy. So it just makes for a bit of a disaster for the afternoons. So if there's a way that we can help prevent that, even better. Some of you might not have kids. You might live on your own. You might just have yourself and a partner, but you're still experiencing that big fatigue that hits in the middle of the afternoon. So this can hit anytime after 12, really. It doesn't have to be at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. Some days I might go through this closer to lunchtime. But what I notice is I've got a few sort of strategies in place that I implement pretty much from the moment I wake up. It's a bit more automatic, so it doesn't feel like another overwhelming task for me. But what I'm noticing is when I don't do these things, that's when my afternoon crash still happens and it hits me quite hard. So for this, what I'm going to suggest is probably things that you've heard a million times before. But again, if you implement them from the time you wake up and just have it as part of your routine and your daily schedule and habits, it becomes a lot easier. So the one thing, and this is personal experience for me and my clients, is hydration. So if you are drinking lots of water throughout your morning, and then every cup of tea or cup of coffee that you have another cup of water, half a liter or whatever, you will be more hydrated come the afternoon. When you're more hydrated, your cells function better. Everything is a bit more optimal and your body isn't trying to suck energy from other areas. So it helps boost that energy for the afternoon. And if anything, it just helps decrease or delay that fatigue that can set in. So I notice this on days where I have not had enough water. That's when I really hit a wall in the afternoon. I start my day quite early, so sometimes this hits me around 11 or 12 o'clock. And then if I think back, quite often I've had less than a full cup of water, and I just go downhill quickly. Yesterday is a perfect example of that for me. I had a big drive home, and it was just me and my little one in the car. I had 2 coffees in the morning. I don't think I had more than a sip of water. And when it was time for us to get in the car, it was about a 3-hour drive. I was actually try not to drink too much water because my little guy was tired. He fell asleep in the car and I was by myself. So in order for me to go and stop somewhere to go to the toilet, it was going to have to be waking him up or making sure that I timed that properly. So I actually didn't drink any water. So when we got about 10 minutes from home, I was like, oh, I'm starting to go cross-eyed here. I can barely focus on the road. Energy was just dropping. I could feel like I just had no energy in the tank. Even though I was sitting in the car, I wasn't being active, so I wasn't physically exerted, but my whole mood and demeanor was just going down and down and down. But I knew this was happening and I knew why. So I told myself, as soon as I get home, don't worry about unpacking. I'm going to have a snack and have a big glass of water, which I did. And then I followed it up with a big glass of coconut water because that is my go-to if I am thirsty or dehydrated. A nice big glass of coconut water generally sorts me out, and it did. So it wasn't immediate, but within half an hour or so, I was like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit better. And I just had my whole water bottle. I just tried to drink it all before we had dinner. So I was playing catch up, but I noticed it as soon as I was about 20 minutes from home. I was like, okay, we're hitting 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock here. I've had no water and my body was just tanking. So for me, I try to prevent that. And on days when it happens, generally I can trace it back to being dehydrated. Now that was a big long-winded story, but I wanted to just give you an example of it was an exercise. I wasn't overdoing myself physically. It was that dehydration just literally sucked the life out of me. So you don't want to wait until you feel thirsty or until that hits, because quite often it's really hard to recover from it. So during your day, during your morning, try to make sure that you are having water. So the good thing is that water bottles are so trendy at the moment. So it's a bit in fashion to have a really cool water bottle with you. So just make sure it's full. And if you know how much it contains, like how much you can carry, so if it's 750 mils, is it 1 liter? Try to map out, okay, I need to have 3 of these, before dinner time. Or I want to have this whole thing drunk before lunchtime. And that way it gives you an easy way to just kind of know that you are drinking water. So like I said, it's on trend at the moment, which helps just make it easier accessible. Also, I live in Australia, so we have a lot more public water fountains and water bottle fill-up stations as well. So if you go into any restaurant as well, I'm sure you could help. Maybe not take all of their water, but you could give yourself a bit of a top up if you had to at the same time. So hydration is going to be extremely key. Now, the other thing for your energy slumps is to make sure that you're eating properly. So at every meal, making sure that you're having adequate protein for your body, adequate fiber, and just as much nice, raw, crunchy veggies and fruit that you can. So that's going to help make sure that you're getting nutrients and filling up your belly, but also sustainable nutrition. So for example, if your breakfast is the standard toast and jam, that is a very high carbohydrate, high sugar breakfast. If that is what you like and that is what gets you through the day, try to see if you can add a big protein source to that. And when I say big, I'm just meaning an actual protein serve. So roughly 25 to 30 grams would be a great start. However, if you pretty much have a really low protein content at your breakfast, you might want to start adding protein gradually. So again, protein is another huge buzzword in the industry at the moment. You can't seem to escape it. I'm not saying that you have to go high protein, but we need to get adequate protein. So if you're not having enough protein during your day, this might seem high protein. And how you can track this is I would recommend taking 2 or 3 of your regular weekday meals. So what is something that you typically have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and popping it into an app such as MyFitnessPal, just so you can see how much protein and fiber you are getting. It will probably give you the calorie count as well, but I would focus more on the macros. So if you go through the app, there's a way that there's a tab that you can do the macros and it'll give you an idea. So let's say you're having toast and jam and your coffee. That total might be less than 10 grams of protein per serve. We want to be getting 25 to 30. So you could add 2 hard-boiled eggs to that breakfast on the side. You could swap the jam for almond butter and see how that brings up your ratios with the protein. You could also add something on the side. So like I said, 2 hard-boiled eggs. You could have your protein and water with your breakfast. You could have Greek yogurt as well. So if you do like jam, I make my own chia jam, which is basically berries and chia seeds blitzed up. You could add that to your Greek yogurt. So there's all these little tips and tricks that you can just learn along the way. Now, if you're not used to having a lot of protein at your breakfast, like I said, add 5 or 6 grams at a time. So over the next 2 or 3 weeks, you're building up to that bigger breakfast. I guarantee what you'll notice is after 2 or 3 hours, you're not feeling as ravenous and that sugar crash again. So if your breakfast is a very high carbohydrate breakfast with not enough protein, fats, and fiber, probably having another meal or a big snack within the next 2 hours that you're having that. So if you have more protein at breakfast, it's going to help sustain you feeling fuller longer. And then at lunchtime, you want to repeat another 25 to 30 grams with your lunch. So if you are working and you're on the go quite a bit, this becomes a bit harder and takes a bit more planning, because all the convenience foods are most likely a lot more expensive and harder to find if they've got higher protein, fats, and fiber in them. So if you go and get like a ham and cheese toastie, easily accessible, probably not enough protein, and probably too high in carbohydrates to keep you full for long. So as I was saying, if you're prepared and you can kind of have options, put your typical breakfast into an app where you can kind of see, okay, well, I'm probably not getting enough. What can I add to this breakfast to make it more sustainable? If you do this at breakfast and lunch, most likely in the afternoon, you're probably going to be feeling a lot better. You won't be reaching for that extra, chocolate or muffin or something that's easily accessible in the cafeteria. And you're probably going to just feel more energy and less likely to crave that sugar and that extra coffee. So again, anecdotally, I notice a huge difference if I haven't had a proper breakfast and I've just been either grabbing a quick snack or having little bits of food along the way. In the afternoon, I'm ravenous, I'm raiding the pantry, I'm stuffing food in my face as I'm getting dinner ready. On the days where I've had a more substantial breakfast and lunch, I don't snack as much. And while I'm making dinner, I'm actually just starting to feel hungry. I'm not like, I haven't been gurgling for 3 hours already. So you will notice that higher fiber, higher protein and fat content in your breakfast and lunch is going to save you later on in the day. You probably won't be snacking and crashing as hard. That's going to save you binging and having all that crappy convenience food and having or overeating at your dinner. So again, if you can boost that nutrients and have better fuel in your body, you're most likely going to feel a lot more energy in the afternoon. So part of those energy crashes is when you get really hungry or dehydrated. That's when you're like, oh, I just need something sweet, or I just need something to take the edge off. But when you do eat more fulfilling food and more nutrient dense food, those cravings slowly start to subside. So give it a try. I highly recommend putting a couple of your regular meals into an app like that, so you can just have a look. Maybe you're already doing a really good job, and then you can move on and go, okay, well, what's another option? Am I having enough fiber? Fiber is great to add sort of satiety. So if you're eating a meal and at the end of that meal, you're feeling quite full and satisfied, that's what we want. So if it's a big salad with lots of, carrots and whatever vegetables you like in it, carrots, cucumbers, there's lots of volume, but lots of fibrous volume, and your protein, you're most likely going to feel fuller for longer, and that's going to stop that energy slump and those cravings that you get in the afternoon. Now, on that note, with grabbing those extra energy snacks or drinks is coffee. So coffee, I'm a coffee drinker. I love my coffee and I don't want to go without it. However, when I have too much of it, I get that huge crash again. So it's paired with having too much coffee and not enough water and not eating properly. So it's kind of a sort of well-rounded approach for me. So I notice that if I've had a morning where, again, I haven't had enough water and I've had 2 or 3 cups of coffee, I get tired and then I think, oh, I'm just going to have another coffee to get me through. But if I actually think back to the morning, I'm like, actually, I had a crappy breakfast, or I didn't have any breakfast, and I've barely had enough water. I've already had 3 coffees. If I have any more, I know it's going to make me feel worse. So it's about prevention. So trying to catch this before it actually happens. But if I notice that it's after 11 a.m. or 12 o'clock and I feel like another coffee, I stop myself, I backtrack and go, yep, okay, I'm going to have more water and I'm going to make myself something really filling that's meeting my nutritional needs for lunch. So with coffee, the caffeine effect, which we're going to talk about later on as well, it will affect your sleep even if you think you don't. Most people who I talk to who have some sleep issues, whether that's not sleeping well or they wake up in the middle of the night, most of them are very heavy coffee and tea drinkers. So even if you stop before 4 o'clock or stop before 2 o'clock, think of how much you're having and are you supplementing it with enough water and nutrient-dense meals. because it will affect you later on in the day. So caffeine can take up to 8 to 10 hours to leave your system. If you're having coffee at 1 or 2 in the afternoon, it can still be in your system after 10 o'clock at night. So think about it. Think of your whole daily approach. Rather than grabbing more coffee, before you even get to that, try to make sure you're boosting your hydration and you're eating more fiber and protein. And guaranteed in the afternoon, if you go without that coffee, you won't miss it at all. So if you can replace it with water, that would be my top bet, or something that is satisfying and tastes yummy, like a nice kombucha. I love a kombucha in the afternoon on those days where I am feeling like I just need something. I don't know if it's because it's really sparkly and tingly on my tongue. I don't buy anything too special, just whatever I've seen at the shops, and I might just have just a cup of it. So I don't drink the whole portion. I'll just pour it into one of my smaller cups and have that. And I always feel good afterwards. So I don't know if it's just a bit of a change of all the senses. But yeah, try to just stay away from having more tea and coffee as the day goes on. I've got so many clients who say that they have 2 or 3 coffees a day, but then they drink tea all afternoon. So try to just cut it down and think, why am I having so much? What is it filling? So is it because it's really cold and it tastes warm and nice and cozy? Or is it just a habit that I actually don't need? Or if you have 5 cups of tea a day, can you cut out the 5th one and just either replace it with a glass of water or just try not to have as much? So if you're monitoring your caffeine, having it before 12 o'clock and then making sure you're not having too much of it will actually boost your energy in the afternoons. So I've gone off on another tangent. I'm not saying to cut out your coffee, but just be very mindful of how much you're actually having. So trying to have it before sort of lunchtime, and then in those afternoons, if you're eating better and hydrated, most likely you're not going to have that crash where you feel like you need it. So hopefully that helps. So that's going to be contributing to your energy dips in the afternoon and how you can help monitor them. So the take home message is hydration, protein and fiber. I will say fats as well. So making sure that you're having adequate ratio of protein, fats, and adding fiber into your meals. So just having a look on the app if you can to see where the missing link can be. And then also your coffee and caffeine intake, trying to monitor it and having it before 12 p.m. Anything after that, just replace it with a non-caffeine version, preferably just water, because you're most likely not having enough water. All right, so the next thing I wanted to talk about as our second pillar is your strength. So this is, again, another huge buzzword in our industry is women's strength training. So I am all for it. I've been doing this for years. I've been coaching women for over 22 years. And I have to say that the women who I coach with strength training, so in the gym with weights on a consistent level, they get less injuries, less severe injuries, because it doesn't make you immune to injury. But when you do get injured, it's a lot less severe, quicker recovery time. Physically, which I don't like commenting on people's bodies, but physically, they have a better shape. They've got structure to their frame. They are not weak. They can get bumped around a little bit and they can survive. So I had one of my clients recently trip and fall, but she didn't break her foot, did she? So it's a nasty, nasty sprain, but I do believe if she wasn't exercising as much as she has been, that it would have been a for sure fracture. And she's already feeling better after 10 days. So her tissues, and she would be late 50s, I believe, but she's been exercising pretty regularly. Her tissues are able to sort of protect her a bit more. Now think of yourself or your mom or an auntie or a colleague. Imagine how their life would be different if they tripped and fell and they actually fractured their arm and they were in a sling. So you want to try to prevent it not only for just functional and independence, but also for your recovery and for the rest of your life. You don't want to break your arm and then be in pain for the rest of your life because it doesn't heal properly or your body wasn't strong enough to help in that recovery process. So there are so many things that happen to the body when we have a fall. So let's just say you do fall and you break your wrist. That arm is now going to be in a cast. You're going to go through a bit of a rehab process, which is actually hard to maintain and get people to stick to. But not only that, you are now going to overuse your other arm for months. And that's going to come on with its own sort of roll-on effect of issues. So you want your bodies to be resilient. So not only to prevent things like fractures, but to be recovering faster and to sort of pick up the slack when other body parts need it. So let's just say you do break your arm and your other arm ends up doing all the extra work for, let's say, 3 months, just for argument's sake. Now that arm is probably going to get overuse injury. So either tennis elbow or carpal tunnel or shoulder tendonitis, or, you know, once that wrist recovers, you might actually do something to that other arm as well. So there is a huge roll-on effect. And if you start your strength training earlier on, your body is going to be more resilient and get through all of these little sort of setbacks and obstacles a lot better. Now, besides that, that was my exercise physiologist brain kicking in there. So injury prevention and recovery, but also your muscle mass. So as we age, our muscle mass is decreasing. Now, it's not just perimenopause, it's just a natural effect of aging. So it's not to scare you or anything, but we want to start stacking the deck in our favor early on. Now, if you're already in your mid to late 50s or late 40s and you're thinking, oh, I haven't done it now, it's too late. It is never too late. You can start at any point, and you're probably stronger than you think. So give yourself a little bit of credit. But we want to start putting on muscle mass as soon as you can. And it's not as scary as it sounds, but it's also not as easy as it sounds. So if we're putting more muscle mass onto our bodies, you're going to be more dense. You're going to be able to be stronger. Okay. And you're not going to notice that you're not strong until you realize it in the worst possible way. So either trying to lift something up and you tear something in your shoulder, or you're going traveling and you can't get your suitcase up onto the bus, or things like that. And then you go, oh shit, I'm actually lost it. Like I used to be able to do that. So you want to try to maintain your functional strength, your everyday strength, and then your strength sort of in the gym itself. And it doesn't have to be scary. So if you don't weight train at all, let's say you just do none of it, you've never done it, you're probably going to be scared. You'll be a little bit intimidated. You're probably less likely to go join a gym and just start it on your own. So you don't have to necessarily go and join a gym and start doing big heavy weights in the gym. If you don't weight train now, you want to build up your strength in a progressive overload manner. So you're not going to go just to the gym and start picking up the heaviest weight and then drop it on yourself or not know how to use the equipment. You can start with the basics. You can start with really simple body weight circuits. And then when those start to get easier, you can progress those. And then you can start adding on some extra weights to it. So it doesn't have to be you going to a gym that you have no idea how to do anything and then getting lost and getting injured. You can start with 3 or 4 really simple exercises that you can do at home by yourself or with a friend or anywhere really. Guarantee you, if you went for a walk and then every time you saw a bench, you did 10 squats, you held a plank and something else, no one is going to bat an eyelash. And if anything, in their head, they're probably thinking, oh, she knows what's up and I should be doing that too. So don't be embarrassed if you are thinking of starting and you have no idea what to do. There's a place and a time that everyone can start. So I understand that it can be intimidating. The whole internet is telling women that you need to lift heavy stuff and you need to lift it now. If you're not doing anything at the moment, if you're just starting out, you want to build up to that lifting heavy. And lifting heavy is relative. So my heavy versus your heavy is going to be completely different. You might be starting with just a body weight squat. It might be a half squat. You might be doing a wall sit. That is totally fine. It is all relative. I still find body weight squats and lunges and wall sits very challenging, but you make them challenging to meet you where you're at. It doesn't have to be very complicated. And don't think that, oh, if I'm not lifting really heavy, then there's no point. In order to lift heavy, you have to build up your foundation. So it can take months and months to build it up. So you want to start wherever you are and then work towards that goal. When you hear people saying you need to lift heavy, yes, you do need to lift heavy. We want to get enough stimulus to the muscles, but you don't have to start at lifting heavy, and we don't want you to. You want to build up your foundation, and eventually you're just going to get stronger and you'll naturally start lifting heavier. So it's not as scary as it sounds, but you're going to build up to it until you're capable. And if you are a very beginner at strength training, if you're at a, let's say you just grab, just to make it simple, 1 kilo weights and you're doing bicep curls, and you can get to 8 or 10 of them, that's your lifting heavy. If you can only do 3 of them, that's you lifting heavy. You take a break and then you keep going until you get better at it. So we want to apply that overload principle. Everything is gradual. And then, so with my new program, the Perimenopause Project, we go over this with you and we're going to give you very simple workouts that you can follow along. Now, included with it, I'll talk about it now because I'm going to mention it at the end. So what I am adding for everyone who does this workshop, who watches the replay, and for the first week that I'm opening up spots, I guess we could say, everyone is going to have access to a health and fitness audit. So you're going to be able to tell me where you are now. I'll send you this huge questionnaire. It's not that big, but you'll be able to tell me sort of where you're at now. Do you exercise? If you do, what do you do? If you don't, what sort of things would you like to do? Blah, blah, blah. And I can help guide you guys through the steps to do that. But yeah, so there's very easy to follow along videos to help you and get you guys going with that. So I've sort of lost my train of thought a little bit. But yes, so with strength training, you do want to start somewhere and you will build yourself up. So you need someone to guide you a little bit. I'm your gal. But there's a lot of free stuff on the internet that you could probably find as well. Now, with my perimenopause project, I am totally open to people doing whatever routines they're already doing. And then you can ask me questions about it. Say, how do I continue this? Or I already work with a trainer, or I do classes at the gym, and I will guide you. Okay, well, with the classes, do this within the class, or try this class instead of that class, or do 3 classes a week and then do these ones once a week. Or if you're doing nothing, you might start at once to twice a week. So we will guide you and help you feel more comfortable and get through your workouts safely. With strength training, you also want to be adding in a little bit of mobility, a little bit of cardio. And again, I guide you guys all through this, giving you some templates that you can do, one-on-one guidance within the group that you guys will be a part of, and then just help you guys progressing it along the way. So it's hopefully not too overwhelming, but you want to build up your strength and then support it with your mobility work and your cardio. Built into the strength workouts, I will add, is a big pelvic floor component. So our pelvic floor and core, it's important for everyone. But what happens during perimenopause is that when our estrogen's dropping and progesterone's dropping, or they might be dropping and fluctuating quite a bit, is a lot of our tendons, our contractility, our tensile strength, it just starts declining. So we want to make sure that we are doing a bit of focus on pelvic floor and core within our full body workouts. And we want to be, again, just getting stronger, because as we get, so if you can build it up now, even better. And then what'll happen is you've already got that base. So when that base is sort of there and you've built that foundation, you just want to keep adding on top of it. And then if you have a setback, you're not going back to ground zero. You're getting a bit of a setback, and then you can keep going again. And when I say setback, this includes holidays or time off. Let's say you get a really bad cold and you take 2 weeks off. When you get back to your exercise program, you just pick up where you left off and you can keep going. So you might want to decrease it a little bit when you come back, but you'll gain it back. It's not all or nothing. You're not going to lose it all and have to rebuild. So that's my next point, is building up that consistency. When you're consistent with your exercise, with your strength training, a little bit of mobility and cardio, and you're sort of, let's say you do 3 days a week. If you're doing 3 days a week for months and months and months, and all of a sudden you go on holiday for 2 weeks, your body is going to be fine. Stay as active as you can on holidays. Don't go completely off the rails. But if you do, when you get back to it, the first couple of weeks might be a bit challenging, but then you'll gain it back because you've been consistent for so long. You've already built the foundation. There's that flexibility within your own body and your own schedule that can allow for that. And that's where you're going to get consistent. So being consistent, and then you've got that flexibility because you're consistent. So I hope that makes sense. It's definitely not an all or nothing approach. So you want to have a flexible routine as well, and that's going to help you stay consistent. So let's say you have 3 days a week of your exercise and something happens and you miss half a week. Pick up where you left off and add it in. So even if it's a half workout, that is fine. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I do that all the time. So my schedule right now isn't really my own schedule, is it? So I've got a little one, I've got a partner, I've got work, in-person clients, school pickup, making dinner, all that kind of stuff. So sometimes I have every intention to get up and do my workout first thing. And then when I wake up, I realize I've got 20 other things on my list that sort of need to get done before my little guy wakes up. So I might miss a workout, or I only get half of it done. That is fine, because over the week, instead of doing 3 full workouts, I might do 4 or 5 half workouts, and it sort of adds up to the same thing. So consistency is key, and just doing what you can when you can. So never think, oh, it's too late, I've already stuffed it up, I'm just going to throw in the towel. do what you can. Sometimes I come into my gym, so you can see it behind me. I might get 2 sets in and then my workout's over. The little guy wakes up and I've got to get him ready for school. I might come back to the workout later that day, or I just tell myself I did something and tomorrow I'll do more. And that is fine. That is how you build a consistent routine that is sustainable. All right. And then the other thing I just touched on as well is having flexibility within your plan. So if, let's say, you're part of a gym and you see a trainer once a week and then you do a class once a week, something happens and you miss one of those sessions, what else can you do? Can you go do your own workout if for whatever reason your trainer's canceled or if the class got canceled? Still go and do something else. Even if it's not what you were planning, just go do something because it keeps you in that routine and allows you that flexibility to say, well, instead of a leg day today, I'm actually just going to go do a yoga class. It might be fun. So having that flexibility that it doesn't have to be set in stone, and also that consistency. So just get up and do whatever it is that you were going to do, or do something different, but still do it. So always doing something is better than nothing. All right. So with our strength, I'm just going to come back to that again. As we get older, naturally our estrogen is going to be decreasing. When the estrogen comes down, we sort of lose the ability to maintain our muscle mass. We lose the ability, your motivation might be all over the shop, your energy might be all over the shop, and it's a bigger hill to climb. So if you can keep on top of it, those fluctuations and that decrease, you can kind of manage that a little bit better. Your body is a bit more resilient to it. So again, stay consistent with it and get yourself onto a routine. So the last pillar that I'm going to talk about is our rest and recovery. So with our rest and recovery, hang on a sec. So energy, strength, yes, and rest and recovery. So sleep is going to be a big part of this one. Now, when we're going through perimenopause, our hormone levels are dropping quite a bit and they're fluctuating. The way I described this the other day to a friend was kind of like we're going in reverse puberty. So we've kind of peaked and now our bodies are getting ready to sort of settle into older adulthood. So everything is fluctuating, going haywire, and it just throws off our system. It makes things harder to regulate, put it that way. So things like stress management, our nervous systems can get out of whack. If we get really stressed, I find I get stressed and flustered a lot quicker, and it's harder for me to regulate it. I've always been not very regulated anyway, and now it is amplified. So I try, again, first thing in the morning, I'm writing out or reading out my list, and I think, what have I got to get done today? What can get delegated? What's priority? And I try to just manage the stress in my head and of all the things that we need to do. So if I can help sort of keep it in check and make sure that it's realistic as well, my stress levels do come down, and that helps me regulate it. Now, if stress stays really, really high, your cortisol tends to go really, really high and stay high. If your cortisol stays high, quite often your sleep is going to be even harder to maintain. So you might fall asleep, but then you might be waking up in the middle of the night without that ability to sort of calm yourself back down. Progesterone is another hormone that is helpful for keeping the calm and keeping us level-headed. If that dips down, then that whole calmness becomes a lot harder to achieve as well. So estrogen comes down as well. Progesterone is dropping down. Estrogen, I think, is more responsible for like our internal thermostat, and that can affect our sleep. So hello, hot flushes and cold sweats at night. So if you are suffering from those, again, if we can find ways to help cope and manage and decrease it, that is going to help us sleep better. Now, so with recovery and rest, so yes, it is sleep, but a lot of it is going to be the stress management and the mental load. So resting and recovery through our nervous system and our physically resting. So our sleep as well. Now, a lot of things are sort of out of our control, but what we want to do is help you build the foundations to help stack the deck in your favor and give you the best chance to have a better experience. That way, if you do seek help or further assistance, so whether that's you're going to go to your doctors and inquire about HRT and things like that, you can already tick off all of these things that you are already doing. HRT is meant to support you. It is not a magic bullet. And it'll work better if you are building up those beautiful foundations. So sleep and recovery, what are some things that we can be discussing and working on? If you are, let's say, constantly going, go, you are so busy, so many things going on, and then you're not going to bed until 10 or 11 and you're up again at 5. You're setting yourself up for failure. Now, is all of that like manageable for you? Is it sustainable? What are some things that you can change, or like I said before, delegate or manage in a way that you're not doing it all, or you're doing it a lot easier or quicker and more sustainably? So yes, you're going to have busy days. You're going to have busy weeks where you just sort of have to get through it. But for an everyday routine, we want to make sure that we are managing our stress levels and that we are being realistic with our goals as well. So some days are just too busy. I don't get a workout in. But if I do get my workout in and prioritize that, I have a better day and I'm more productive because it's helped me sort of manage my stress, and I feel like I've done something for myself and I've got more time for other people. So you have to look at your schedule and think, what is a priority? Am I giving back to myself? And then how am I serving others as well? So with our stress management strategies, a lot of it is out of your control, but also have a look at your whole day and think, okay, well, what can give, what can go, or what can I do together so that it frees up some time? I love the idea of working out with a friend. So that way you're getting the social aspect, you're doing something for you, and you're doing something for your body. So it kind of ticks 3 stones with 1 bird, so to speak. So if I have a friend that I can do a workout with, or go for a run with, or go for a walk with, that to me is a great way to set up the day. And then it just decreases the stress levels because it's a tick off the list for my workout, but it's also that filling your cup and your emotional needs as well. So that is something that I try to prioritize in my day. And I do notice a big difference if I do that first thing in the morning, even if it's by myself. First thing in the morning, have my silent cup of coffee with nobody else awake, and do my workout in the home gym before everyone's up. I always have a better day when I do that. Even if I wake up and my list is this long, if I wake up and just put the list to the side or bring it with me so I can just add and cross things off or adjust it in my workout, that also gives me a good stress relief. So if your stress levels, as I said before, if they're remaining really high and we're constant in this frazzled state, your body is never in that calm and relaxed mode. So we want to try to find more ways to do that. So with our hormones fluctuating all over the place, a lot of the times we might have a crappy time falling asleep, or we might wake up in the middle of the night. So we want to find ways that we can help, again, stack the deck in our favor and make this more possible. So some strategies that you can do, if you are suffering from hot flushes and night sweats and it's interrupting your sleep, what are some things that we can try to minimize the effects of it? So can you wear maybe 2 shirts to bed, like a singlet and a t-shirt? And that way, if you go to bed cold and you wake up warm, you can take one of the layers off, or have a sheet and a light blanket on your bed and a heavy blanket, and then you can layer things on and off as you need to. If you are having really bad night sweats and you're waking up soaked, what can we do to just help that transition be a little bit faster? So do you have a spare change of clothes right beside your bed? Sleep on a towel so that if you do wake up in a sweat, you can swap the towel. Have a different room to your partner if you need to. If you've got a spare room, can you sleep solo? And does that help thermoregulation as well as just more comfortable in the night? What are some things that help just get through that night with better sleep? It just helps you get through it faster. Also with our sleep is the mental load. If you're not decluttering your mind, you're most likely going to have a harder time falling asleep or staying asleep. So is it keeping a notebook and pen beside your bedside table so you can jot things down before you go to sleep? Or if you wake up in the middle of the night and your mind is racing, can you quickly write things down or journal it out, clear your mind, and get yourself back to sleep? We all have a million different things that might be taking up space in our heads. But what can you do to clear that off before you go to bed? I've got a little one who sleeps pretty well for the most part. And then we have these ruts where we might be woken up quite a bit throughout the night. He's learning, I guess he's self-potty training throughout the night. So quite often he'll wake up to go to the toilet, but it's a really quick wake up, go to the toilet, he's straight back to sleep. But then I'm stuck wide awake at 3 a.m, wondering if I should just get up and start my day because my mind is just racing. So when that happens, I usually get my phone out. Don't come at me about the phone in my bedroom. For me, it actually really helps clear up my headspace, but it's where I keep all my notes. So I might just go through my calendar really quickly and just go, okay, when I wake up, I've got time to do X, Y, Z, and I can do that in the morning. And quite often my brain just goes, okay, it's got a space to get done and I can switch off. So yeah, so there's all these different things that we go through that we might not be able to control. But if we can reduce it, we get used to that, and then we can find ways to reduce it even more. So a lot of it is going to be stress management, taking away the mental clutter. And also, especially as a female, I feel like we suffer a lot from decision fatigue. So you wake up in the morning, and before you've even sort of got your day, before you've even turned the lights on in the kitchen, you've already made like 1,000 decisions for that day. You've already thought ahead to school schedules, school lunches. What's your partner doing? Is anyone going to be home? What's for dinner? What's in the fridge? What needs to get purchased? Did the dog eat last night? Is the dog okay? We've got a bit of an older dog. So we make sure that he gets his walk in the morning because he's the best in the morning, but also it's getting warmer. So we take him with us on the school run. And then what time do we need to be back so that my clients are here? Blah, blah, blah. So quite often you wake up and before you've even walked into your lounge room and turned the lights on, you've already made 1,000 decisions. Decision fatigue is real. It's like this whole space in our brains that are just about going on and on and on and on and on. So it doesn't actually switch off. If we can reduce that, then you'll most likely have a better sleep. Your body will be more relaxed, more rested, and you'll recover a lot faster for the next day. So one tip I have definitely that works for me is reducing that decision fatigue for the morning. So before I go to bed, I have lunchbox packed for the next day. Dishes and leftovers are all put away, packed up. And now my next thing is I try to have all the dishes done before I go to bed, because when I wake up, if I see dirty dishes, it's instantly like you're going to have a shit day. I'm not a clean freak. I'm not a neat freak. I don't clean my house very often, very well. But the kitchen, when the kitchen is full of crap and dirty dishes and there's shit everywhere, I wake up and it's immediately like, you're going to have a shitty day. So now before I go to bed, even if I'm really grumpy or it shouldn't be me doing it, I try to make sure that all of that is done when I go to bed, because then when I wake up in the morning and I see that it's done, my body instantly just goes, oh, cool, let's make our coffee. And I'm a lot happier. So again, I am not a neat freak. I'm not one of those OCD house cleaner type of people, but the dirty dishes or leftovers that weren't put away, or when there's still food on someone's plate, again, I don't care whose job it is. I do care, but I'm going to pretend that I don't. I try to make sure that that just gets cleaned up and put away so that when I wake up in the morning, it's a clean slate. The other thing that really helps me, again, I wake up and it feels amazing, is if I just give the kitchen table a good clean off and have my workspace ready for me. So I work from the kitchen table. I love it. I'm not going to change. But when I wake up and it's just a mess with things that weren't put away, again, when it's cleaned off, it's a much better day. Also, I don't have to wake up and then do it. So it's one less thing that I have to do. So that helps with that decision fatigue getting switched off. Now, this can come in all forms of shapes and sizes and whatever. If you've got kids, you know, the lunchbox, and then we do school uniforms here in Australia. So making sure that they've got clean uniforms. In the long run, having school uniforms is a lot easier than regular clothes because you don't really have to think about what they're going to wear. You just have to make sure that it's been washed and cleaned and ready. So, but if I try to do all of that stuff before bed, it makes my morning and then the day a lot smoother. So if I'm really switched on, I will double batch my dinners that I make so that the next day I've either got lunch or another version of that dinner for the next day. Again, it's all about reducing all of those decisions. When I do this, I find I go to bed, even if I'm physically a bit more tired, I'm mentally much clearer and better. And then I fall asleep a lot better and I have a better night's sleep. So I hope you can see where I'm going with this. Again, I'm just on a bit of a tangent. I've got so many things I want to talk to you guys about today, and I'm not going to have enough time. So decreasing the mental load, decreasing the mental stress, the checklists, and that decision fatigue, that can help you have a much better sleep. So think about things that interrupt your sleep. Is it kids or animals? Because nobody likes to get woken up by either in the middle of the night. Sometimes that's out of your control. What can you control? So the other complaint I get often is that people have to go to the toilet like 3 or 4 times a night. I don't want to say what's normal and what's sort of healthy, but 0 to 1 times a night is acceptable, I would say. If you have to wake up and go to the toilet, that's fine. But if you're doing it more than 2 or 3 times a night, that's a problem. So is it because you are literally drinking herbal tea all night up until you go to bed? Then that needs to change, because now it's affecting your sleep. So is it because you don't drink any water during the day and you have like 3 liters of water before you go to bed? Then that needs to change, because it's interrupting your sleep. Sleep is paramount. If there's things that are within your control, then that's what I want you to focus on. So a lot of times people love having that cup of tea at night. That is fine. Try to have it a little bit earlier, or with like, try not to have any liquids an hour or two before bed. That way, whatever you have consumed, you've got time to empty it. Go twice if you need to before you go to bed. See if that helps, and it should. Also, this is where our pelvic floor training is going to come in, because if you've got healthier, more contractile tissues, they'll be able to hold more and be a bit more functional for you. So again, it all kind of plays a role in everything that we do. But if it's something as simple as just cutting out liquids before bed, that is fine. If you love having that cup of tea before bed, just try to do it a little bit earlier and give yourself some time before you go to bed. I find if I do have a cup of tea at night, I try to make sure that I've gone to the toilet obviously before, but then I might just do a quick tidy up or do something active within the house for 10 minutes, and then I'll empty my bladder again. Sometimes just being upright and walking around the house, it just helps me empty my bladder a bit better again. So so whether that's just packing up my bag or just doing a quick tidy of the lounge room, and then again, go before bed a second time, and that seems to help. So think about things that you can do that are within your control. If you find that you are just swamped at work and you always have to stay up a little bit later to get things done, is that within your control? Could you be doing something else during the day to push that back so you don't have to stay up until 10 or 11 o'clock at night to get that done? Sometimes it's not something that you can change, but have a look and see, is there a way that you can finish all that sooner, or can you delegate something else off earlier in the day and then get that work done earlier? So I know it's hard. It's not always that easy, but just have a think of the whole day. Can someone else help lighten the load earlier in the day so that you can get that work done earlier, or get more of a sleep in the next day if that's possible? Now, with our sleep, the recommended old tale of 8 hours of sleep, I highly recommend. If you can get 8 hours of sleep a day, that is amazing. If you can get 6 and feel great, that's good, but I do think you could go for a bit more. Let's say you set your alarm for 5:30 or 6 a.m. every day. So if you're waking up at 6 a.m. every day, I would suggest that you try to have everything complete and you're in bed by 9. So you might go to bed at 9, read a book for a little bit, or wind down. I'm sort of into some podcasts at the moment. And I also don't mind some mindless TV I watch on my phone in bed. But for me, again, don't come at me, I find when I watch something on my phone, my brain just clicks into relax mode. So most of the time I'll close my eyes and just listen to it for 10 minutes and I fall asleep. It depends on what it is. I try to just keep it something really silly and nothing too serious as well. If you have a podcast or some calming music, sometimes that helps. Don't laugh at it until you try it, because it does help. But just something to switch off your brain and then help you relax. So if you're going to bed, let's say at 9 and you fall asleep around 9:30, you can probably get a good 7 or 8 hours of sleep. You might even wake up before your alarm clock. But give yourself the best opportunity you can to get a solid of 8 hours sleeping in your bed. I'm actually surprised at how many people have such a shitty sleep. So I hear it all the time from clients, new clients, people in passing, or just people that you chat to at school pickup or at a social gathering, and you're chatting to people and it comes up. It's very common that people are not getting a very good night's sleep. So try to set yourself up to allow for that to actually happen. So how are you going to get 8 hours of sleep if you're staying up until midnight every night? It's probably not going to happen. If you've got kids or animals, like I said, I keep saying animals because right now my dog does this annoying coughing thing in the middle of the night. Usually wakes me up, and then I'm up worrying about him, even though it's nothing. So anyway, so animals or kids or snoring partners, out of your control sometimes. But try to set yourself up the best you can to have a good night's sleep. So reducing your liquid intake, and then going back to our coffee intake, trying to reduce our caffeine intake to having it before 12 p.m. And then also having a good balanced diet. So again, your protein, your fiber, your fat, making sure that you're having good balanced meals. Your energy will probably be more sustainable during the day, and then it'll help you have a better night's sleep as well. Sleep is paramount, as I said. So the best you can do is try to at least give yourself every opportunity. If you have to sleep in the spare room, do it. No one's going to care. If everyone is getting a better night's sleep, then do it. Or if you know that you are tired and you need a good night's sleep, see if you can sleep in the spare room or send your partner to the spare room. And then that way it gives you that time to catch up and not have to worry about anyone else interrupting that. So those are the 3 pillars. I know I went off on a few tangents. I wanted to give you guys a different spin on things, so it's not the same old textbook stuff that you've been hearing online. So the 3 pillars that we sort of went through is your energy, so mainly the energy slump that we get in the afternoons. Your strength and exercise routines, you don't have to overthink it. They don't have to be too complicated. And then your rest and recovery, which is so important, especially in perimenopause, because your body is working overtime. You've got all these hormones fluctuating everywhere. Your body is not the same. And now it's just a bit more sensitive, I guess, to all those changes. And now we have to work a bit more intentionally to make sure that our body is recovering and sleeping well. So you're not broken. Nothing's wrong with you. Perimenopause isn't a disease. It is something, it's a big transition that your body goes through. And we want to make sure that, I want to make sure that I'm doing my job to just help put you at ease. There are simple strategies that you can implement pretty much immediately. You might not even realize that you're doing the things that you're doing that are actually hindering your progress. But put these simple strategies into place and you'll probably notice a big difference. So again, protein and fiber are going to be your friends, and watching your whole meal. So if you can get a meal that is very balanced with protein, fiber, and fat, I find carbohydrates are easy for us to fit in, so I don't really discuss that too much, but adding that protein and fiber is going to really help your digestion, your muscle mass. So keeping up that muscle mass, you're going to need to eat that protein, your energy levels, as well as bone density and just your overall function. You're going to be feeling a lot better. And then our sleep and recovery. So giving yourself every opportunity to have a good bedtime and get 8 hours in your bed. So 8 hours of sleep, I should say 9 hours in your bed. So if you get into bed 9 hours before you want to wake up, that is a great way to try to help you get more time sleeping. Even if you might be sleeping an extra 20 to 30 minutes, you'll notice a big difference. And then you're probably going to be adding a bit more on top of that again. And then rest and recovery. So our bodies just don't recover as quickly as they used to. Again, this is for everyone who's getting a bit older, but even more amplified in perimenopause. Because of those hormone fluctuations, we're not getting that support from your estrogen and progesterone. And while HRT can help or MRT can help, it is there as a support. It is not there as your magic bullet. It is not the answer to everything, and you'll get much better outcomes if you've already built up these foundations. So my offer for you guys today is we've just basically touched like the tip of the iceberg with all these strategies and information. In my program, the Perimenopause Project, it is a group coaching, an online group coaching program. I say group coaching, but it is basically like semi-private. You will be getting one-on-one support within the group. So the group is a private Facebook group where you can ask all your questions and put all of your concerns in, and I can post to you guys as well. But it's a very small group to start with. So when you are first starting out and you're asking questions, if you are being shy, you can post anonymously, but you basically have me in your back pocket to help guide you through. So when you log into your portal, you will have all this information that we've gone through today, plus like tenfold. There's so much information. So all your nutrition, sleep, stress management, lifestyle strategies, and habits that we can build upon. All of your workouts and pelvic floor and core, strength workouts, and how we can build it up. Pretty much build it from the ground up. We're going to walk you through that. And then again, there's just so much more in the actual modules that you can go through, plus the weekly support from me. So you have me in your back pocket. Like I said, I am your coach. I'm going to be there for you. So it is a nice bridge between one-on-one private training in person and generic group coaching. I'm sort of meeting everyone in the middle. So you can do it all on your own, and then you've got that support with you. Now, everyone who has signed up for the workshop, if you do join up with us this week, you are also going to be getting the 3 big bonuses that I mentioned earlier in the week. So the one bonus is my workout library. So that is over 60 workouts that have been filmed over the years, preloaded in a whole other section for you guys. That way, there is really no decision to be made. The only decision you have to do is to push play. So you've got all of these workouts. So full body workouts, and these are all workouts that you can do at home. There's a few that have some dumbbells and some bands, but most of it is all body weight. So it's really great for you to build that foundation that we've been talking about, and take the decision making out of it for you. So you don't have to think, oh, what am I doing today? You can literally just log on and hit play. So there's 45-minute workouts, 20-minute workouts. There's core and mobility, glutes and core, rest and recovery ones, which are great. But there's so much on there, and that way it's all done for you. You don't have to think about it. You're also going to be getting a health and fitness audit. So I mentioned this earlier today as well. The health and fitness audit is basically a big questionnaire that I'm going to ask you all these questions about yourself. So where you're starting, any injuries that you've had, any concerns that you've got, and just your current status with your exercise and nutrition and lifestyle. And I'm going to go through that and kind of give you my expert advice as to what small changes we can make, where you might be needing a little bit more support, and also what can you implement now to help get those results. Now, the big bonus is that you guys also are entitled to get a 30-minute phone call with me, and we can actually discuss in person, either phone call or video call, your health and fitness audit and anything else that you need to chat about. So it's basically like a personal coaching call that you get with me. So you get those 3 bonuses. So the workout library, the audit, and the phone call. The phone call, I do need it to be done before December 20th. So you've got 3 weeks to book that in with me. And then, yeah, so you guys are going to get the email with the Perimenopause Project offer. So please take advantage of the bonuses, because 2 of them are going to, or one of them is going to disappear on December 1st. If you have any questions, don't be shy. So I'm really, really proud of this offer that I've put together for everyone. And this is going to be the part of my business that I'm taking into the new year. So it is everything all in one. We are bridging the gap between private training and group training. It is kind of like a hybrid private group, I should say. And you don't have to do it all at home. You can. It's set up for everyone to be able to have full automation and independence to do this at home, but you can mix it in with a current routine that you were already doing. So if you already work out with a trainer, or if you're going to classes and you already have workouts that you do, that is great. I am there to help join it all up together to give you the best results possible. So it's called the Perimenopause Project, and check out for your emails for more information. So thank you for joining me today. Again, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, send me a message after this, and I will answer them on the next call. See you guys.